Hello, I'm Leroy Garcia, and this is Blue Rain Gallery Podcast. This is a post-recording for a pre-recording of an interview with Preston Singletary. These next 4 episodes that you will be seeing were recorded during Indian Market of 2021. It was an opportunity we had to interview artists as well as collectors, and we hope you will enjoy these. It's a little bit different than what we've been going through as far as just artists. We want to bring a perspective other than just artists, but also from the collecting front as well. So in this interview with Preston, we've had him discuss his new exhibition that will be opening up at the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C., the Museum of the American Indian, on January 28th through the 31st. Also, we'd like to let you know we, Blue Rain Gallery, will be doing a pop-up, which is we have rented a space in the Alexandrian Hotel in Alexandria, Virginia, to show Preston's work and make it available for sale during the opening of the Smithsonian exhibit. This is a really big deal, as Preston is a pioneer and has really been an ambassador of glass in the Native community. In fact, I would like to say again, if there was no Blue Rain Gallery and no Preston Singletary, there really wouldn't be a Native glass art movement like you see today. I would also like to encourage you in this episode's show notes to watch or listen to a podcast that I did with a local podcaster named Brian. His podcast is called Artist with Brian. So scroll down in the notes if you want to learn a little bit more, especially about me and the evolution of Blue Rain Gallery and my perspective of artists and clients and the relationship between them. Check out those notes, very important. So hopefully you enjoy this episode. This is with Preston Singletary. It's the title of his exhibit at the Smithsonian is Raven in the Box of Daylight. I hope you enjoy. Today in the studio we have an honored guest in Preston Singletary. Thank you for coming today, Preston.
Thank you.
I've wanted to interview you for a while in this format versus the Zoom because we live so far away. It's hard to do that sometimes, but it is Indian Market time, and Preston has produced one of his best shows ever for Blue Rain Gallery. There's 6 monumental cast glass totems in this show, amongst maybe 30 other pieces of sculpted glass in baskets. And I'd like to encourage everybody to check out our website, blueraingallery.com, and take a look at his work if you can't make it into our gallery. Today, though, I wanted to bring Preston in so he can talk a little bit about something special that is happening in his career, something that he's worked for and sacrificed for many years. And that will culminate in January of this next year with an opening at the Smithsonian the Museum of the American Indian in Washington, D.C. And that exhibit will be going on for about a year or so. And I'd like to encourage people to make a trip out there and see this special exhibit. It was well thought out. It was planned for many years in advance, and it turned out beautiful. And with that introduction, like Preston to talk a little bit about this show and what it's about and what it took to produce it.
Well, where do we start? This was definitely a vision I'd had for many years. It was, I'd made aspects of the Raven story in sculpture form. The Raven steals the sun, the iconic piece with the little, the red ball.
So what's the title of the show?
The show is called Raven in the Box of Daylight. It's an exhibition that originated at the Museum of Glass. It traveled to Wichita Art Museum, then now to NMAI. But so this basically explores the whole story and mythology about Raven and how he eventually procured stole the sun and the moon and the stars and placed them in the sky, and that's how, that's one of the kind of mythologies that is really well known, actually. So I chose to try to illustrate it in an exhibition form, which would be more experiential. So, I used elements of video, and with the objects telling the story. So as you walk through, you basically get the whole thread of the story. So there's a lot of components to it, like the video backdrops that I created with this guy that I designed the exhibition with, Juniper Shuey. He comes from the theater background, and so I thought that would be a really good guy to partner up with, and also his skill in working with projected video and sort of video mapping and stuff like that. Another component of that is, there's a musical, there's sort of a soundtrack or a soundscape that, that follows through the entire thread of the exhibition. So I met this guy in 2004, the opening of the NMAI in DC, and his name was Walter Porter, and he was a guy who was a Tlingit man, elder from Yakutat. And he had seen my raven sculpture that I had made, and he says, I need to talk to you about this because it's basically my life story or my life's work. And so he had done a lot of analysis of Tlingit mythologies and sort of broke them down into symbolism and kind of, compared it to universal mythologies in the same way that Joseph Campbell did. So he would find the symbolism within the stories, and so he shared with me that, his insights to that story. And so from that, I started to, piece together how could, make this exhibition. Unfortunately, he passed away in like 2015 or something like that. So then I ended up finding another curator to work with, and she's also Tlingit and Zuni Pueblo. And so she's, tenured professor at the University of Washington now, but I caught her right in this little window where she was able to help me, curate this show and put it all together.
So tell us a little bit about how many pieces are in the show?
I think there's about 55 pieces in the show.
55. And how long did it take you to get this together?
It was a process of about 4 years, I guess, making pieces slowly and just putting them aside and accumulating all the pieces. As time went on, I started to think about the story on a deeper level, and and then I ended up adding more and more. I was like, wait, no, there's this aspect of the story is Raven is white, a white bird in the beginning.
Kind of like on the cover of the book, right?
Yeah. So then I realized, no, I have to make white ravens. So I made several white ravens as sort of point markers through the exhibition. So it's like he's traveling around through these different areas. So
if you could describe yourself as a person walking through your exhibit, what's the first thing you're seeing? Tell us about the journey that you created.
So the whole idea was that, trying to go create, basically the world in the story, the world is in darkness. So you walk into sort of a dark room, and you have you see a clear glass totem, which basically represents the story of Raven. It's got a raven. It's got the old man and the daughter sitting on a box where containing the sun, moon, and stars, and then you sort of walk through these little sort of thread curtains where you've got video projection, and you see the white raven, and so you sort of follow him into this room. And so the story basically, there's a lot to the story, but basically he goes to these fishermen, the fishermen of the night they call them, and then he asks them, where's the daylight? And they told him about this old man that has these objects, this daylight in his clan house. So you kind of walk past this river and this canoe, and the video backdrop sort of creating the atmosphere of the Alaskan coast, and then you encounter the old man and his daughter, who I learned through talking with different people that strange little detail about the daughter is transparent, and which Walter said symbolizes a supernatural being. And so I made this clear head on a bust that represents the daughter, and then I got the old man, and then so Raven goes to the old man and says, can I come in? Can I come in and visit? Here you have the daylight, and the old man is like, get out of here, shoos him off and won't allow him to come into the clan house. So Raven formulates a plan. Another section of the exhibition is this ladle, and so theoretically the daughter goes out to get a drink of water in the morning. So Raven is a transformer, and he can assume different shapes. So he transforms himself into a speck of dirt, and he's floating down this river, and she scoops it up. Well, because she's a high class family, she has attendants with her, and and so they test the purity of the water. So they take a feather and they draw it through the water, and they find this dirt, so they toss out the water. So there's a sculpture with a feather, and there's a little clear glass droplet, and a little speck inside of it. So it's like that symbolizes Raven. So that plan has failed, and so he transforms himself again the next day to a hemlock needle. So I've got this mobile that's sort of suspended from the ceiling, and it's got these white feathers and white elements that are kind of spinning around on these bronze branches, and that's symbolizing the Raven transforming into a hemlock needle, or breaking down his that transformation process. So at first I was trying to create elements that were like animated somehow, and that was one way, and then the video took it to another level. So then she scoops up the water. She doesn't see the hemlock needle. She swallows it, and then she becomes. She realizes instantly that she swallowed something, and she didn't know. But she became pregnant, and which was kind of curious because she wasn't married. So right there is sort of like what Walter would say. It symbolizes the Immaculate Conception, right? So that's one aspect of it. So then I have this sort of bust figure with a pregnant belly, and inside I've carved this sort of transformation as sort of a humanoid raven human figure, and sitting in this bowl. And so she becomes pregnant, and very quickly pregnant, and she they comes time to give birth. And in the old days, what they would do is they would, behind the clan house, they would dig this pit, and they'd line it with furs, and then that's where the baby would be born. And so she's having trouble giving birth, and a medicine woman comes by and says, "Okay, take the furs out and replace it with goat's beard moss." And that sort of symbolism, Walter says it's like a humble birth. Right, he doesn't want to be born on these furs, which is
fancy.
Yeah, fancy. So this is a humble birth. So she finally gives birth to Raven in a form of a human child, and so and this child is very precocious and mischievous, and always it grew very quickly, this child. And so now so in the exhibition you're entering into the clan house now. That's how the Raven gets into the clan house. So I have this big wall screen and these house posts that represent, passing through and into the interior of the clan house. We have all the treasures that are kept by this old man, and you have baskets and ladles and rattles and masks and things like this, all stacked on this shelf, which are meant to represent the interior. The stair steps down to the central fire pit within the interior of the clan house. So there's a lot of objects in there, and that's kind of like the treasure trove, or we call it atu, which means it's kind of like an heirloom, a family heirloom. Mm-hmm. And so all of this material wealth is there, and then I had these cedar figures that were cut out, routed out, and then I had Dorothy Grant, who's Haida, the sister tribe to the Tlingit. I had her make these garments, and then I put a glass head on the top and a hat. So I had these standing figures, so it kind of brings some human presence into the space, and so then you continue on, and then you find these boxes which are illuminated from within. So I have one that has like little star points, and then there's one with a clear globe, and then there's one with a red globe inside. So those are the boxes that contain the sun, the stars, the moon, and the sun. So one by one, he plays with these boxes in the story, and first it's the box with the stars, and when no one's looking, he tosses them up through the smoke hole into the sky, and that's how they took their place in the heavens. And so he's reprimanded, and he's scolded, and they're very disappointed with him, and he this child, and so he a few days go by and they kind of forget all about it. So he's playing with this next box, and he's biding his time. Finally, he opens up the box, takes out the moon, and he tosses it up into the sky. So this time he's really in trouble, and the grandfather's really disappointed with him. So he's Raven sees this third box, and he wants to play with it, and he says, no way, you're not going to get that one. And so the Raven child, he screams and cries and fusses, and just causes a huge scene, and he stops eating, and he gets really weak. And then the daughter goes to the father and says, Father, is there anything more important than your grandson? And he says, okay, of course you're right. So he puts the box down and says, but don't open the box. So of course, at this point, Raven's becoming tired of being human in human form. So he grabs that box, or he opens up that box, and he grabs the son, and immediately the father knows that he's been fooled. So he grabs onto the tail of Raven, who's flapping away and trying to escape, and so he's struggling with this, and he holds the Raven over the fire, and the smoke from the fire turns him black. So that's how Raven transformed from white to black. So, and then so the final action in the story is he breaks daylight on the world, and everybody is shocked. All of a sudden they can see the world around them, and some of them run off into the forest, and some jump into the water, and some of them jump up into the sky, and they become the animals of those realms. And the people that stood, where they are, and either kind of bewildered or couldn't take action, became the human beings, right? And so over time, and this is a theory that's been discussed, that's those animal symbols were adopted to represent the families. So you got the shark clan and the killer whale and the bear, and it goes on and on. And so that's basically so the final gallery in the exhibition has several busts with heads and hats, and the hats have all the symbolism of the different clans from the different realms, from the air, from the forest, from the water, and then the human realm. So then you've got this huge video projection that kind of gradually gets brighter and brighter, and then you have these sort of human figures that was we kind of borrowed from Juniper's his dance and theater troupe. So it was just really it was just a really serendipitous thing, as we went into the exhibition, and we kind of created the video together, and looked at different options, and then he kind of mapped it out, and he just interjected that. I thought that was really cool.
Well, it's well thought out. And what type of space does this take?
It's about 6,000 square feet. Is about, yeah. So, and I think I'm excited about the NMAI installation, because the configuration of the gallery is really, really clever. You're going to be able to actually move through different rooms to really experience it. And the clan house will be built with two doorways, passageways that you can walk through it.
Is this so you did a screen similar To the one in Anchorage? For this?
Yeah. It was in Juneau that I did. But it was, it was the original piece I made for the Museum of Glass in 2008, which was my first exhibition I had there. So that's owned by the Museum of Glass. That's the only piece that isn't mine that I made for the exhibition.
So, Preston, how often do you think it is that a living artist gets an exhibit like this?
Well, I'm really honored to have been able to pull this off because I asked myself the same question, right? I mean, I just turned 58 and I'm like, how many,
you're getting old.
I know. Happens to the best of us.
Mm-hmm.
But I was thinking the same thing, like how many opportunities am I going to have to make, a major exhibition statement like this? It's really challenging, I mean, I had a lot of, you mentioned the sacrifice. I made a lot of work that normally I would have, put into galleries and sold, and I had to hold on to it, and it's 50 plus pieces that are tied up with the exhibition. Yet, on the other hand, of course, it's a great opportunity to share it with a big audience.
Yeah. We're also coming off the Museum of Indian Art and Culture, their glass exhibition of Native art. And I don't know if they really appreciate who you are. And I would like just to say publicly, Preston is a pioneer. He's one of the first people of Native descent to work in glass. And not only that, he has been an ambassador. And I know Del Chihuly came down here a few times and tried to get glass going, but nobody has had an impact that Preston Singletary has given this format here in the Southwest corridor. And we're proud, we're honored. Love you, man.
Love you too.
Thanks for coming today. I know we could talk for a long time, and we're going to save that for some more interviews in the future. But thanks for coming, Preston.
Excellent. Thank you.
I'd like to encourage everybody to subscribe to our podcasts on all the platforms you can find, from Spotify to iTunes, or you can just simply go to blueraingallery.com under our podcast item there and hit it and enjoy. I'd like to also encourage people to come and see our bluerainprintshop.com, where we have tons of products for everyday life. As you can see behind Preston and right here, you can get a lot of his imagery on things that you can use every day. Thanks again, Preston. Thank you everybody for watching.